And now, with the calendar reading June, it is an important month for the Astros. With Luis Ortiz, Zach Tawatar, let's bring in KHO 11 baseball analyst Jeremy Booth. Jeremy, on our Extra Bases show on KHO 11 Plus, you mentioned how you believe the Astros are mediocre. Has anything changed in the past few days to change your mind?
You know, I was hoping that would be the case, and then I went and watched them play yesterday. You know, so I think they're a little bit better than I said, but they're still in the average category. They can move up and down a little bit, but this is still just above 500 club. And for me, even though they have much better lineup construction and approach, the pitching depth is now going to be a problem, right? So for even just not getting on the same page with everything, having everything clicking where your best personnel is there at one time, the depth is revealed or lack of. So, yeah, man, this is still an average club. And by definition, that's mediocre.
No, it's not, Jeremy. It is not. That is not the definition. It is not. I thought Jeremy was wrong. So I don't think mediocre is average. I think below average is mediocre. So I don't think the Astros are a below average team. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Jason. I think mediocre might not be the right word. Average, yes. Just maybe above average. Look at the record, right? They're 31-26.
I say above average.
Just
good,
a little
but
bit.
Not great.
Right.
Good, but not very good.
Listen, they are right now virtually tied for first place in the AL West. Is that more about the Astros, or is that more about the division just being a weak division? However, look, they go 7-3 in this 10-game homestand. They're winning more than losing in the recent games. You got to think about the injuries that they have. It looks like maybe they're starting to get in the right direction, the right trend, if you will, and there's a lot of baseball left to be played. I think that they are average. We'll see how they end up.
Well, if we can't agree on average or mediocre, I'll just say they're okay. They're okay.
All right, okay.
They're about a 500 team.
And now MLB.com posting a story about the biggest questions entering a pivotal month of June. So what about the Astros' biggest questions? On the big board over here, Yordan's availability, now that we know he has a small fracture in his hand, the starting rotation behind Fromber and Hunter Brown, the bullpen, the rookie outfielders, Jacob Melton, Cam Smith, maybe Jeremy Pena putting together an all-star type season. Jeremy Booth, which of these is the biggest question mark or the biggest question in the month of June in your mind?
Well, before you get to the biggest question, and I do know that was what I was asked, you go to that fifth one on the list there, says Jeremy Pena, all-star. For me, moving up in the lineup might have been a good idea. Now, moving back to the biggest question that we have, to me, it's a starting rotation, right? It's going to be the rotation. They're just out of pitching, and I know that they were short of pitching coming into the year. They're out of pitching now. They have to wait for some help, or they have to make a trade, and I don't know what they're going to do to eat up some innings. I wish I had the answer, but they need to find them in a hurry.
I'm with you. I'm all about the starting rotation because after Fromber and Hunter Brown, who knows what you have? Is Lance McCullers going to continue this progression? The Sugarland Space Cowboys, the back of the rotation, can they continue to hold serve, or will they be up and down? To me, it's the starting rotation. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, it's also the starting rotation for me, and it's frustrating because this is an issue that the Astros have had for probably 3 to 4 seasons. This is nothing new. They continue to believe that their farm system is going to get it done, and right now, I think we're kind of getting to the end of the rope.
Yeah, guys, I'm on the same page. Starting rotation is the biggest question. No doubt about it. Look, when you look at the IL, you have the Houston Methodist starting rotation, right? Because you got so many guys on there. You guys already said it. You guys touched on it. They're going to run out of innings. I mean, they've run out of starters. Where do they go from here?
Well, they're going to have to do something. The good news is they've been winning with these guys and without Yordan Alvarez, but the news about Yordan's injury making news, Jeremy, certainly the Astros have a checkered past when it comes to disclosing injury information to the media. How do you feel about how this situation has been handled?
Well, it's been said a couple of times tonight that, they've been winning last little bit. And obviously they're in a tie for first. And, things can potentially be looking up. There's no way around that. Yordan's injury is less obvious. It's less impactful with the right rep personnel using the right spot. We have to keep that in mind, right? Because we don't know what this injury is going to be, and that's the question. How long is this going to take? Now, I know it's a 60% fracture. I get it. I understand, or healed. I get all that. The Astros owe nobody that information. First thing we have to understand, it's internal. They don't owe me that information. They don't owe the press that information. The beat writers, nothing. It's for them. Where the Astros run into problems is that they're just dishonest about it. They're just, from the beginning, they're either dishonest with how they go about their business, or they are dishonest in their process, meaning if somebody in their system said that he didn't deserve any imaging, which was the answer that was given, he doesn't need any imaging, and now all of a sudden he needs imaging, there's a whiff somewhere, right? And so that could have just very well been the medical personnel. Don't know. It could have been the relaying of information. Don't know. They don't owe us that. But when there's a breakdown that consistently in either the diagnosis, the treatment, or the relaying information to the media and the public, it raises all kinds of red flags and concerns. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that with giving up that information, it makes me question when the guy's going to come back, because I don't know what I can trust and when I can't.
I agree with you. I think basically when you have a situation piled on top of a situation before, piled on top of another situation, it compounds and it becomes more of a problem. Certainly the Astros do not need to disclose anything. We get that from the Texans, right? You're right. It does become a problem when it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse in terms of the stories year after year after year. It just makes it look bad.
The Astros have done a less than mediocre job of disclosing information. And again, that is up to them to disclose the information. I get that part of it, but when you continue to have these diagnoses that seem to get progressively worse, and they're not just related to pitchers, right? Pitchers, we often see this happen with, but these have to do with position players as well. I think it makes you feel like there might be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, look, we know they don't have to disclose the information. To me, I'm not sure that in this case it's about that, what information or what they decide to tell us, and more so about that they mishandled it, because
the process.
They did have the first MRI, but there was the calcium buildup and the inflammation and everything that was there. So they're like, oh, because of that, we weren't able to see the fracture. Then Yordan himself says, hey, part of it was on me. I should have probably sooner rather than later said, I want a second image. I want a second opinion, which he ended up getting with an internal team doctor and an independent doctor. So to me, now I start to question, okay, is it really about what they decide to tell us, or really their process, how they're handling it? And if he did say, and they say it's not the same type of pain he was feeling in the previous hand injuries or issues that he's had, why decide to play him through pain? Why do that and risk it if you're not entirely sure? And especially when you have the precedent of Kyle Tucker, which initially was a shin bruise, and then 3 months later you figure out, because again, inflammation and whatever, you couldn't see with the first MRI, the first imaging, that it was a fracture. So why take that risk?
So I'll say it this way, and that's valid. The reasons to not be forthcoming on an injury are just privacy, right? Whether that is going to be in trade or possibilities, that doesn't fit here, right? Or whether that is going to be in serious preparation, that doesn't fit here, right? If he's not day to day, he's on the DL or IL, right? And if he's part of a trade package, well, then you're going to have to give it up anyway. So neither one of those things apply here. So somewhere, somebody wasn't honest with somebody else. That's what I can tell you. Doesn't matter how you get to it. None of us are in the clubhouse. None of us are in the chain of command. We don't know. Somebody somewhere was not honest with this process. And I've said this before in the case of Lance McCullers, and it sounds like in Yordan there's a little bit of that too. The players don't get to run the club. It's you do whatever you have to do when it's like, man, my hand hurts. Well, why does it hurt? Well, let's go find out everything we can as to what that's about. Hey, my name's Lance McCullers, and I have pitched 120 innings max for X amount of years. Maybe I should go to the bullpen. You don't get to tell the club what to do. And I know those are different scenarios, but in any situation, if arguably the best, if certainly not one of the best left-hand hitters in the game, is out of the lineup on a consistent basis and you don't know why, that is negligence. I don't know if it's going to be, I don't know who to put the blame. So I'm trying to just be as general as I can. But to Yordan Alvarez to have no clue when that man's going to come back and hit third in your lineup, well, now hit third in your lineup.
Well, fourth probably.
If I get a C in class, that's mediocre grade. A, F, C. Anyway. If I turn around and I don't know when one of my best hitters and one of the best in baseball isn't playing, someone's going to have to answer for that. And if I'm Dana, I'm looking down the chain and I'm going, tell me why this keeps happening. Tell me who's responsible. Tell me why I don't have my information. Tell me why I can't prepare my club. And tell me why I'm sitting with a 500 team that Booth's calling mediocre. That's exactly what I'm asking, okay? Because I'm going down the line, and I know I have to answer those questions to everybody in the city, and frankly, baseball, because we play for championships here at this level, right? And if that's a big key, you have to have that answer.
Yeah, I have that same question. Why does it keep happening with his hands? What's the issue there? But also, by the way, apparently he can come back once that fracture is 70% healed.
We do know this. We do know this, that more drama is ahead because the month of June is always important. Jeremy Booth, thanks for being with us tonight on Sports Extra.
Absolutely.